If you suffer from excessive shedding or your hair has just been shedding way too much lately, this video is for you. I'm going to be giving you 10 tips involving what's causing your shedding and exactly how to stop the shedding. I always say this, all my tips work great together. You can use only one tip and maybe it'll work for you, but using all the tips together is very, very vital, and you definitely see huge changes in your hair if you follow these 10 tips. My name is Angelica. I post videos twice a week on Wednesdays and Sundays, all about growing long, healthy hair. And on Fridays, I post a fun video recommended by you guys, so you can always leave your comments in the comment section below. And if you want to know whenever my next videos go live, make sure you hit the subscribe button. It is right down there, as well as the bell. Make sure you hit the bell so you get notifications every single time I post. Let's get into the first tip to stop your hair from shedding. Okay, so the first thing is extremely important for you to know exactly what to do, because if you don't follow what this first thing is, it'll be very difficult for you to help yourself or even figure out the cause of your shedding. And this is to know if your hair is breaking or if it is shedding. There is a big difference between hair breaking and hair shedding. So if you want to know the difference, it is very easy. First of all, you can look at your hair when it is out. If you find that you have like a bald patch, or there's a whole like section of hair where you just don't have hair, or your hair is thinner in that specific section, then your hair is probably shedding. If you find that you have like a dip or a hole, depending on how you wear your hair. So if you wear your hair in like an afro kind of state, and you find like in one place there's like a patch that's just like shorter than the rest of the hair, like a hole, that is probably breakage. And if you wear your hair straight and your hair is like nice and straight, and in one section there's like a little dip, like a V, whether it's up or like this, however the shape is, if there's like a slight dip in your hair in one place, that also means that your hair is breaking. Now, if you can't tell from that, and all you can tell is like your hair looks fine, but you're experiencing a lot of hair, maybe down the drain when you wash your hair, or in your hairbrush or your comb, you find that you have a lot of hairs there, the best way to tell is to look at the actual strands of hair. And if the hair is blunt on both sides, or one side has a split end and the other side is blunt, then your hair is breaking. If your hair is shedding, the hair pieces will be longer, the same length as however long your hair is. That's how long the hairs are going to be. And you can see a little whitish bulb on one end, which means that the hair is actually coming out from the root of your head, and that is shedding. So first, figure out if your hair is breaking or shedding. If your hair is breaking, then that is a completely different issue, and give this video a thumbs up and comment in the comment section below if you want me to do a video specifically about hair breakage. But this video is about shedding. So if you've gone through this little test I've given you and you discover that you are shedding, or you just want to prevent your hair from shedding too much, then you can continue with the rest of the points. Okay, let's get into tip 2. Now, if you've discovered that yes, you actually indeed are shedding a lot of hair, the first thing you can do to help your hair reduce the shedding is to do low manipulation hairstyles. Now, your hair can naturally shed and fall out, and I'll get into that in the later tips, but you can also pull your hair out by over manipulation, especially if your hair is already weak. So if you comb your hair too much, if you brush it too much, if you're constantly doing certain styles that require you to part many tiny sections of your hair and manipulate it that way multiple times, my favorite low manipulation hairstyles are large twists and large braids without any additional hair, just using your own hair. Anywhere from 4 to 10 braids is a great size. So depending on how much hair you have, it will dictate how many braids you're going to have in your head. So just do like big loose braids or twists, like, you know, the Felicia braids or the Felicia twists, however you want to call them. Those are amazing because they are low manipulation. You can keep them in your hair, you can keep them underneath the head wrap. If you're in the house, you can just wear them out, you don't have to do anything, and that will at least leave you an entire week or two or a month, depending on what you've done to your hair, without having to comb your hair and manipulate it. All you have to do is moisturize it while it is in that same state, and that will greatly reduce your shedding. Let's get into the third tip. Okay, so the third tip, this is one of my favorite things you can do to stop your hair from shedding, and this is rice water. Now, not just any rice water, specifically the Yao Women's recipe. And the reason I say this is that regular rice water doesn't seem to work for everyone, but the Yao Women recipe has a higher chance of working for more people because everything else is just broken down even more. It has softening properties. It has so many vitamins in it. It has so many properties that make your hair stronger and thicker because it reduces the amount of shedding that you have. Across the board, almost any type of rice water that I have used, whether it makes my hair grow or not, whether it makes my hair hard or not or anything, the thing that it does is usually it cuts down my shedding by half. So if you've never tried rice water, I would highly recommend you try specifically the Yao Women, and I will link the video of how to make, I'll just link my rice water playlist at the end of this video so you can check that out. I have tons of videos on rice water, and you can check out which recipe or which way of using it might work best for you. So I'll link that at the end. Make sure you stay tuned for that. Let's get into the fourth thing you can do to stop your hair from shedding. Okay, so this fourth thing is if protective styles are not for you, if you find that maybe you don't know how to do them well, or you just do not like them and you decide to just wear your hair out, whether it's in a wash and go or just blown out, whatever the state you wear it out in, this can help you reduce shedding. And this is to not over manipulate your hair. It's like low manipulation hairstyles, except you're not doing the like low manipulation hairstyles. By this I mean if you decide to do like a wash and go, or you just wash your hair and you leave it out, I would suggest you do your hair a maximum of once a week. Once every 2 weeks or once every 10 days is a good way to go. So let's say you do a wash and go and you do the whole, detangling, adding your hair gel, doing the LCO or the LOC method, adding whatever you do to define your hair. And then when you take it out, I suggest you leave your hair alone. Do not touch it. If you want to touch it, perhaps you can re-moisturize your hair roughly by getting one of these like spray bottles and refreshing your hair, spraying all over your hair and roughly going over with an oil to seal that in. That is fine, and it's actually necessary and beneficial for your hair. But if you style your hair and then like every 2 days you're going in to redo the style and restyle and brush through other sections and retwist some sections, rebraid some sections, that is too much manipulation and you actually be ripping your hair out. So even if you blow dry, I highly suggest reducing on blow drying, because even during the blow dry process you can cause breakage and excess shedding. But if that is your preferred way of doing your hair and you don't experience excessive shedding, and maybe you're just experiencing that now, I would suggest even then when you blow dry your hair, blow dry it once and then don't continue like blow drying it and refreshing it throughout the week, because it's just not beneficial. Another thing is if you keep your hair in a low manipulation hairstyle, or you just do a style where you just like leave your hair out, just like in an afro or wash and go like I said, do not pick your hair out throughout the week, especially if your hair tangles a little bit. I understand fluffing your hair out on the first day. Usually that's not that bad unless you do it violently, where you like just put your comb and like comb through your hair. Then you definitely will see excessive shedding and breaking from that. But like on the day, usually as you're doing your hair, once it's dry, you can just go in with a comb and like lightly just comb through the roots and brush through very gently. That is fine, but only do that on the first day. Don't go ahead and start doing that every single day, fluffing the hair out, because even though you're not combing it all the way out through the roots, your hair can still shed and stay stuck in your hair. And then on the day when you wash it out, it'll feel like you got so much excessive shedding on that specific day, but it's actually going to be a buildup of shedding throughout the week from you pulling the hairs out as you're picking your hair out. So please take note of that as well. I just always imagine that video of Kat Graham combing her hair and taking it out, and I wasn't really seeing any hair flying around. But if you do that every day or multiple times a week, you will experience excessive shedding and you will get thinner hair. And if you already have thin hair, this just makes everything worse. The sixth tip is also extremely important, and you will hear me say this tip is very important multiple times because all these tips are so important. So the sixth thing is genetics can also affect your hair loss, and I'm talking specifically about male pattern baldness or female pattern baldness. And this usually runs in the family. So if let's say you come from a family where your grandmother, your great grandmother, or even just your mother and your grandmother started to lose a lot of hair when they hit a certain age, some people even when they hit 30, some people when they hit 50 or 60, whatever the age is, at a certain point, if they start to go bald in the same pattern like the way men go bald, where it usually starts either from the middle of the head or the front and everything just starts going back and you start losing hair, that is very difficult to manage. And it's usually because of the DHT hormone, and you can have pills that will restrict that hormone, and it can help, especially if it's not excessive. If you're just experiencing a bit more shedding than usual but not necessarily balding, it can probably help you, but you still need medical attention for this to make sure you figure out exactly what is causing your hair loss. And I will address this in another point as well, but this is just specifically about female or male pattern balding. And then there's also alopecia, not traction alopecia, just alopecia areata, which can also cause balding and bald patches. So again, for this one, I would highly recommend you speak to a medical professional. If you haven't spoken to them yet, especially in this time where we're in, it's very difficult to actually go in. Perhaps you can call or use all the rest of the tips that I'm giving you right now to help, but ultimately you will need to seek medical help, and that will actually give you the best benefits compared to any other tip I can give you. Let's get into the seventh thing you can do to stop your hair from shedding. So the seventh thing is kind of related to the last one, but not really, but this is to check the medication that you're taking. If you recently started taking any medication, or you've been taking a certain medication for an extended period of time, and when I say medication, I'm also including vitamins like vitamin C, a multivitamin, biotin, anything like that. Just because something on the bottle says it might promote hair growth doesn't mean it's going to work for you. Every single thing, natural or not, has side effects, so it could give you a side effect of hair loss. And then other things like birth control, prenatal vitamins, any kind of vitamin, any kind of medication, whether it's blood pressure medication, whether it is contraception, any kind of medication, if you have just started taking it and you start to experience excessive shedding, it's possible that that's the culprit. So you can just think, is this it? Maybe let me stop taking it for 1 week and then start taking it again and see if this is actually the problem. And if it's something that you can't stop, seek medical help, because maybe they can give you a different brand of the same medication that's formulated slightly different with something that maybe is not going to make your hair fall out. And most of the time when people look into medication, they don't take in consideration vitamins, because they think vitamins are just supposed to do what they're supposed to do. It's a multivitamin. It's just good for overall health. Oh, it's biotin. It's good for hair growth. There's no way it can make my hair shed. It actually can. So everyone's bodies are different and you can react differently to different medications. So seek professional help. Again, seek medical help if it's something that you have to take. If it's something like biotin that you didn't seek any medical help for, you're not deficient and you started taking it, the best thing to do is just stop. But if it's a medication like contraception or something else that you have no control over, you have to take it, then seek medical help and they can probably help prescribe something else that won't have that side effect for you. So the eighth thing is more of a fact, and it's something that I think a lot of people don't really take into consideration. You cannot stop your hair from shedding completely. It's impossible. And the reason is because your hair, every single hair strand in your head, of course, certain batches at the same time are going through these processes at the same time, but your hair is going through different phases at different times at all times. So certain hair is in the growth phase. Some stages of your hair are dormant. Other stages of your hair are in a shedding phase. There's many phases. I believe there's about 4 phases. So depending on what section of your hair is going through this phase, you will have certain hair growing longer, certain hair shedding more. So this is why you can never stop shedding. If all our hair shed at the same time, we would have very short hair, because first, every single couple months or years, we would go bald because all the hair would shed off. Then we would go back into the growth phase and then all the hair would grow back. Then it would shed again, which makes no sense, okay? So your hair is always growing, but your hair is also always shedding. Now, the average person loses between 50 to 100 hairs every single day. There is nothing you can do about that. It is genetic. It is how our bodies are. So if we were to give an average, we'd say that on average, every single person loses about 80 hairs per day. So some people are way closer to the 100. Maybe they're on exactly 100, or, of course, that's an average. So it could be like 115 or something, or like 45. A lot of people might be closer to the 100 hairs a day. If you notice your hair is thinning, and this is on a normal scale, not abnormal. You might think it's abnormal because maybe you think other people's hair doesn't shed as much, but it does. Per day, everyone loses. Some it might be closer to 100, and others it is closer to 50. So the best thing you can do to stop your hair from shedding, and when I say stop, I mean reduce excessive shedding, the closest thing you can do is to get closer to the 50, whether it's 45, whether it is 55, to get closer to losing 50 hairs per day. That is the best thing you can do to reduce your shedding, and using all the tips that I'm giving you, that will help. And also note that if you do everything exactly right and you go into a protective style and you unbraid your hair and you're like, oh my God, my hair is shedding so much, it's probably not. If you take into consideration, if you leave this in your hair for about, let's say, a month, that is about 30 days. So you should expect about 3,000 hairs to come out of your head on average. So if you are doing everything right and you are taking care of your hair and you're doing the best you can to get it as lower to 50, you might have half the amount of shedding, and it might be about 1,500 hairs. Now, hairs are very fine, so when you're counting them, it probably doesn't seem that much. But just know that every single time you comb your hair or wash your hair, if a little bit of hairs come out, that is very normal. There's nothing you can do to stop it because your hair needs to grow, your hair needs to shed so that new, healthy, fresh follicles can be cleaned and new hair can come out. And it is actually a beneficial thing. So do not worry if you're experiencing shedding that's anywhere between 50 to 100 hairs. It is completely normal. You're probably doing everything right and you don't have to worry. Let's get into the 9th tip, which is back to if you're experiencing excessive shedding, and this is stress. Now, here's the thing. I do understand that lots of people are in stressful situations and sometimes there's very little you can do. Like, it's not your fault. Most of the time, it's not your fault. But some people constantly put themselves into stressful situations, which is a whole different thing. But I know sometimes you can't help it. For example, if you're a fast responder, if you're working in the medical environment right now, of course, every day is going to be stressful, but you can try to find ways to de-stress. The best thing you can do is to relax. And of course, you're like, oh, well, duh. It's like when you're annoyed and someone says, just calm down. Of course, it's not going to help you, but there are things you can do like working out, like meditation, taking a relaxing bath, taking a shower before going to bed, turning off all your electric devices at least 30 minutes before going to sleep, because sleep is very important and it can help you distress. Even if you don't want to work out, you can just go for a nice long walk. Wow, this light is so weird. You can go for a nice long walk, you can eat healthy food, do anything that helps just boost your immune system, your hormones. You can give yourself a scalp massage, which is also very, very relaxing. If you have like a foot bath or any kind of massager, I would advise you to just like massage yourself, put your feet in a foot bath, do anything that causes relaxation, and it will really help you de-stress. Now, if you're wondering how does stress actually make your hair fall out, stress can make your hair fall out in clumps because it forces a bunch of your hair follicles to go into the dormant phase, which means you can experience bald patches because most places, probably it's like, I don't know how to explain it, but like I said, every single part of your hair is going through different phases at different times. So probably in this section, my hair might be in a growth phase. In maybe 5 hairs here are in a shedding phase, maybe 10 hairs here are in a growing phase. But if you get extremely stressed, it might send an entire patch, like this whole section, into the dormant phase. And then all that hair is just going to fall out and you'll have bald patches. The reason why it sends your hair into dormant phases is because it's not sabotaging your hair or anything like that. It's just that, I always say this, your hair is not a vital organ. So when you're in extreme stress, your body starts to send signals all over your body to repair the stressful parts, like your heart, your kidneys, your lungs, all the important things. And then it's going to neglect your hair. And once your hair is neglected, patches of hair will be neglected and you will start to experience so much shedding, like clumps of hair falling out, and you do not want that. So try your best to do any activity that helps relieve stress. Even just drinking a nice cup of tea to calm you, that will actually really help. So try doing that. The 10th thing is something that is highly overlooked, and this is iron deficiency or anemia. Now, this can be because you had a very heavy period. It can be because of so many factors. Maybe you don't eat enough food that has iron in it, which is why I always say some of the best things you can do to this is add a lot of greens to your meal, add a lot of protein, and if you still see no improvement, then you can go ahead and seek medical help because they might be able to give you some iron supplements or figure out anything else that might be causing this. And this is another reason why you might have a lot of shedding, and this can also come out of things like pregnancy, whether it's while you're pregnant or postpartum shedding. This is also like a combination of stress and low iron, and this can make you lose a lot of hair. And now for the bonus, because you guys know I always have a bonus. If you are experiencing excessive shedding only on your hairline or the perimeter of your hairline, honey, you do not have random excessive shedding that might be caused by a bodily function. You probably have traction alopecia, which is caused by mechanical damage, which means you are physically pulling those hairs out either by doing tight buns, tight twists, tight braids, Senegalese twists, Marley twists, any of the hairstyles you see on the screen right now. This is probably what's causing your shedding, and it's not most of the other things. And I do have a playlist that is specific to growing the hair on your edges, the causes of what damages your edges, how to heal those things, and I'll link that video right here so you can check that out. I'll link the playlist so you can see how to grow your edges back fast. I'll also link a video here that is specially catered to you. Hit the 2 faces on the side of the screen here if you didn't in the beginning. Hit my face here to subscribe to this channel. Hit the bell down there to make sure you get all the notifications when I post a video. Hit my face there as well if you'd like to subscribe to my other channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye!